Subha Sandhyaවක් Veva. Good evening, everybody. Today we are going to discuss industrial safety and occupational health. I am Dr. Engineer Udeni Wickramasinghe, Chairman, Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission. I graduated from Faculty of Engineering, University of Peradeniya in 1978 and worked at various government sector organizations. Especially, I worked at the Additional Secretary Technical to the Ministry of Defense for some period, about 5-6 years. Then after that, I was appointed as the Ministry Secretary of the Agrarian Services and Wildlife Ministry for some time, and I retired from the government service in 2015. After that, I worked different projects. Now, at the moment, I am working as the chairman of the Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission. It comes under the Ministry of Education. Right. Wait, I will share the slides. This is regarding the industrial safety and occupational health introduction. Legislation to ensure safety and health of workers in Sri Lanka was first introduced in 1942 with the enactment of the Factories Ordinance number 45. That is the act governing the safety and health work in factories. Can you all see the slides?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This ordinance was revised by the Factories Amendment Act number 54 of 1961. And later, again, Factories Ordinance was amended by the Amendment Law number 12 of 1976. Later, it was amended again at a certain time. This lecture covers some important aspects of the Factories Ordinance. It should be read in conjunction with the Factories Ordinance and related regulations issued from time to time. I will explain the regulations in a later step at the end of the lecture. Right. Scope. As the title suggests, this law given coverage only to factory workers. Workers in other establishments like say such as shops, offices, etc. are excluded. There's another act called Shop and Office Employees Act to cover these shops and offices. This manifests as an injustice to non-factory workers since safety and health is as vital to them also. This injustice has been rectified in many other countries by extending the coverage to all employees except perhaps to domestic servants in private employment. The law applies to factories belonging to private, public, and corporation sector. All these three sectors are covered by the Factories Ordinance. Definition of the term factory. So in this Factories Ordinance, factory is defined. The term factory differently to the common man's concept of a factory. In terms of the fact definition, the following conditions have to be fulfilled for an establishment to be legally considered as a factory. There are certain conditions to be satisfied when we define the term factory. What are these conditions? Number one, it should be situated in a premises. So in a particular place, it has to be situated. Then number two, persons or one person, at least one person should be employed. Then number three, in manual labor. Number four, for making of an article or part of an article or altering, repairing, ornamenting, finishing, cleaning or washing or breaking up or demolition or adapting for sale of any article. So these are the important factors to be considered: making of an article or part of an article or altering, repairing, ornamenting, finishing, cleaning or washing, or breaking up or demolition of adapting for sale of any article. Number five, work should be carried out by way of trade or for purpose of gain. Number six, the employer should have the right of access to and or control of the premises. So there should be one owner or in charge officer, the employer, but we call employer. He should have the right of access to that particular place. So these are the conditions. In addition to the above, the following are some of the premises which are deemed to be factories. There are certain other places, although it does not cover from the above six items, there are certain places which we can consider as factories under the law, although they do not conform to the above definition. What are these places? A, any yard or dry dock in which ships or vessels are constructed, reconstructed, repaired, refitted, finished or broken down. This is another special condition. Those places we can consider as factories. B, any laundry carried down as an ancillary to another business or public institution. So laundry can be considered if it is if it works as an ancillary or to another business or public institution. C, any premises where making or mending of nets is carried out incidental to the fishing industry. There's another place, so that also can be considered as a factor. D, any premises used for storage of gas in a gas holder having capacity of not less than 5,000 cubic feet. Then E, certain building and other construction works. Those are special conditions. So these places can be considered as factories. Purpose of the law. Purpose of the law is to provide safety, health, and welfare to persons employed in premises to which the law applies. Safety means the provision of an accident-free working environment. So that is the important factor. We have to create an accident-free working environment in a factory. Health means the prevention among works of disability and disease arising out of environmental factors, processes, and materials used. Welfare refers to the provision of minimum facilities such as toilets, drinking water, washing facilities, and meal rooms to workers. Welfare is a very important factor when we consider factories. So welfare, we have to provide minimum facilities such as toilets, drinking water, washing facilities, and meal room to workers. Important safety requirements. Guarding of factory machinery occupies an important place among safety requirements. Three sections of the ordinance are devoted to this purpose. There are three sections which covers the guarding of machinery in factories. First one, section number 17, 17, 18, and 19. Section 17 indicates it is required that all moving parts of the prime mover, the source that provides the movement. So that is very important. It is required that all moving parts of the prime mover should be securely fenced, guarded. It is under section 17. Section 18, next one, next section, it is required that all parts of transmission machinery, such as belts, shafts, chains, toothed wheels, etc., should be securely fenced. That is also very important. All parts of transmission machinery, so all are moving parts, such as belts, shafts, chains, should be securely fenced. Then section 19, the other section of the factories ordinance, it is required that all dangerous parts of other machinery should be securely fenced. Prime mover and transmission machinery, then we will come to the other parts of other machinery should be securely fenced so as to be safe to all persons employed or working in the factory premises. All moving and dangerous parts of machinery should be securely fenced so as to be safe to all persons employed. That is the dangerous parts of other machinery. Then we will see what do you mean by the term dangerous parts? Dangerous parts has not been defined in the ordinance, and the only guidance in this regard appears in the case law, which interprets dangerous parts. So this is where the dangerous parts is defined in the law. A part of a machine is said to be dangerous if it is reasonably foreseeable cause of injury to any person, acting in a manner reasonably expected of a human being to act in circumstances that may reasonably expected to occur. So in a factory, if we uh, analyze the situation, if we think that the particular part of a machine is said to be uh, is foreseeable, said to be caused injury. So we have to make some sort of arrangements for guarding. So that is a very general statement. So we have to think very carefully when we design guarding equipment. However, if a dangerous part of any machine cannot by reason of the nature of the operation, then what shall we do? It should be secured by means of a fixed guard. The requirement of fencing is deemed to have been complied with if a device is provided which automatically prevents operator coming into contact with the part. So that is the most important. Reason of the nature of the operation be secured by means of a fixed guard. The requirement of fencing is deemed to have been complied with if a device is provided which automatically prevents. So operator uh, has to be safe. So prevents operator coming into contact with that particular part. So that is defined in the law. Then a woman or young person between 14 to 18, woman or a young person between 14 and 15 should not be permitted to clean any machine while it is in motion. That is very important factor. Then we will come to the lifting equipment in factories and other construction sites. You can see a lot of hoists, lifts, chains, ropes, and lifting tackles are used for various purposes. So in the factories ordinance, it is clearly defined what we have to do. Lifting equipment should be periodically examined by a competent person. What do you mean by competent person? Is a person who has a lot of experience about hoist, lift, and other activities. So this competent person has to get a certificate from the Department of Labor Factories Division. Factories Division in the Department of Labor, that particular division is in charge of all these factories ordinance activities. So there's a method of getting competent person for senior engineers having some years of experience. So you can apply to the division and they will arrange an interview to see whether your suitability as a competent person. So lifting equipment should be periodically examined by a competent person. So hoists and lifts should be thoroughly examined once in every 12 months. That is the law of the covers the hoist and lift in the according to the factory's ordinance. So lifts and hoists should be examined and give a certificate once in every 12 months, once a year. Whereas chains, ropes, and other lifting tackle should be so examined once in every 6 months. So twice a year, these chains, ropes, and other lifting tackle should be examined by a competent person. Hoist. Every hoist or lift shall be of a good mechanical construction, sound material, and adequate strength. Safety weight has to be indicated. If it is to be used to carry people, safe entrance and exit methods shall be available. There should be a safe entrance door and exit door when it is used to carry people from one place to another place. Safety locking mechanism for doors should be installed. Under section 27, all these things are covered in the, I am giving you the summary of the thing so you can get more details by going through the ordinance. Then chain, rope, and lifting tackle. No chain or lifting tackle shall be used unless it is of good construction, sound material, and adequate strength. That is very important. Then no chain, rope, or lifting tackle shall be used for any load exceeding the safe working load. So you can't exceed the safe working load. Should be checked in every 6 months by a competent person. As I mentioned earlier, the competent person certified by the Department of Factories Division, Department of Labor, this every 6 months, it should be checked. It covers under the section 28 of the Factories Ordinance. Pressure vessels. So you can see a lot of pressure vessels in engineering, in factories and construction sites. So you have to come across these pressure vessels. Safe pressure has to be indicated in the vessel. So that is very important thing. It has to be indicated in the pressure vessel. Safety valve should be installed to the vessel. Pressure gauge has to be fitted to the pressure vessels. Those are general terms you all must know. Testing hall to be provided to inspect the inside of the vessel and for cleaning. So testing hall should be provided in the pressure vessel then the people can inspect the inside of the vessel, and for cleaning purposes, it is used. Test for pressure vessels. For steel and non-ferrous pressure vessels, the testing pressure should be P equals 1.5 into MAWP. MAWP means maximum allowable working pressure. So 1.5 times of the maximum allowable working pressure. So this for steel and non-ferrous pressure vessels has to be tested. For cast iron pressure vessels, in case of maximum allowable working pressure is less than 1 kilogram per centimeter squared, that the testing pressure should be 2 kilogram per centimeter squared. In case of maximum allowable working pressure is greater than 1 kilogram per square meter, testing pressure should be 2 times the maximum allowable working pressure. Then we will come to the boilers, air receivers, and other pressure vessels. These vessels should be examined periodically, as I mentioned earlier, by an authorized person in accordance with the following time schedule. So boilers, once in every 12 months. Gas receivers, once in every 12 months. Air receivers, once in every 24 months. Steam receivers, once in every 24 months. These vessels should have pressure gauges, as I mentioned earlier, safety valves, draining devices, etc. attached to them. Those are important components of these pressure vessels. Cross section of a boiler, fire tube boiler. This is a diagram. I don't know whether you can. It's a fire tube boiler. You can see at the bottom, you can see ගින්දර දාලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒකෙන් එන මේ දැල්ල ඒකෙන් ඇවිල්ලා tubes අස්සෙන් the flame passes through tubes and the water is surrounded. Sorry, tubes are surrounded by water. Then Guinea butter කියලා දාලා තියෙනවා. ඊට පස්සේ so then from the Guinea butter the flame comes and then dum chimney from there it goes out of the boiler. Those are the important things. And blow down valve, once the boiler completes it the operation, then blow down, as you all know, වතුර සහ අපද්‍රව්‍ය පිට කරන බටයක් තියෙනවා blow down valve එක. ඊට පස්සේ අලු ලිප යට තියෙනවා, ash and other removable things, and air enters from the bottom, and there's a water gauge to measure the water level of the boiler. The boiler with වතුර සපයන බටය, there's a with the valve, and from වාෂ්ප you can see steam creates here, and from there වාෂ්ප නවත්තන valve, stop valve, වාෂ්ප පිටවන බටය. Then there's a pressure gauge to indicate the pressure, dum chimney. Those are the things in a fire tube boiler. You can see in a lot of books and in the Google, you can see a lot of diagrams. It's a rough sketch about a fire tube boiler. There's another type boiler, water tube boilers in the other way. So here I have given fire tube boiler. Under the Factories Ordinance 1942, number 45, as I mentioned earlier, if a boiler is transported or shifted to another place, it should be tested and certified again. So when we transport boilers from one place to another place, so again, then it has to be tested and certified by a competent person, as I mentioned earlier. Then, after major repairs, tested and certified on completion. When the repairs are done, it should be tested after the repair, then it should be certified after completion of the repair. Steam boiler attendance certificate. There's a person called boiler attendants to look after the boiler. So in the factories ordinance, there are regulations. I will inform you. I will tell you later at the end of the lecture. There are certain regulations under the factories ordinance. From time to time, the Department of Labor gazette regulations. So the regulations in 1965 and published in Ceylon Government Gazette. So every regulation has to be gazetted under a particular number from the Department of Labor, dated 3rd September 1965, laid down the conditions for boiler operator. So these are the conditions. There are 3 categories. Here I have first class 3. So up to steaming capacity 2000 pounds per hour. That is the lowest category, up to steaming capacity of 2000 pounds per hour. Class 3 boiler attendant. Then 1 year experience as a foreman or assistant to a certificate boiler attendant. These are the qualifications for that one. The class 3 boiler attendant. Class 2, the next higher category, up to steaming capacity 6,000 pounds per hour. Up to steaming capacity 6,000. Then number 2, must have 3 years experience in attending to a boiler. So he should have minimum of 3 years experience as a boiler attendant. 3, these are in addition to the condition for class 3. So these class 2 experience and the service category is in addition to the class 3 category. So above that one. Then class 1, up to steaming capacity above 6,000 pounds per hour, must have 6 years experience in attending to boilers. So class 1 man, 6 years experience attending to boiler. This is an addition to the condition stated for class 2. Class 2, you can see, must have 3 years. So for class 1, 3 plus 6 years, 9 years in addition to class 2 experience. That is how it defines. Boiler explosion. So these are the conditions boiler explosion causes: inoperative safety valve, low water in the boiler. Those are the reasons for explosion causes. Scale deposits too high. So when we operate a boiler, the scale is deposited. So the scales has to be removed from time to time when we repair the boiler after a certain period of time operation. Oil in the boiler water. Corroded or thinner part of plates. So corroded plates has to be removed and thinner parts. Cracks. There may be cracks in the body of the boiler. Improper repairs. Safety valve could be adjusted plus 10% of the market pressure. So you have to give an allowance of 10% to the safety valve. Boiler operators notes. Test safety valve monthly, that is his duty. Test the safety valve monthly for its performance. Blow down frequently to clean interior of the boiler, as I told you in the previous slide. See adequate lights are there at switchboards, panel board, water gauge, pressure gauge, temperature meters. These are the important places, and all other important places. Do not depend on fully automatic devices. They may fail. So test all automatic devices periodically. Those are other important factors to be considered by the boiler operator. Then clean the boiler and keep it neat. Check the flame and flue gases at the chimney. Light brown color should be appeared. Check temperature, stack chimney. Check the feed water. Feed water levels has to be checked from time to time. Clean filters periodically. When switching off the boiler, water at its maximum level. Those are the important factors to be considered. The duties of the boiler operator. Essential features of the boiler, of a good boiler. The boiler should be light in weight, compact, and should use less space. It should allow easy, cheap, and quick maintenance. Number 3, it should be capable of starting very quickly. Number 4, it should be capable of accommodating large variation of loads. Those are the essential features when we think of a good boiler. In a boiler, the velocity of water and flue gas should be minimized after they overcome heavy frictional losses. All the joints and fittings of a boiler should be easily accessible. Water scaling and soot should not collect in and on its tubes. Safe means of access and safe place of employment. This is also very important when we think of safety of the factory and construction sites and other places. Safe means of access to the place of work should be provided and maintained. So we have to be very careful about the people working in the factory or construction site. So safe access to the place of work should be provided. That is the important factor of the management of the factory. If a person is liable to fall from a height of more than 6 feet, means should be provided to ensure his safety, such as by the provision of safety belts, nets, some sort of fencing has to be done. If the worker is working more than 6 feet, that is very important, especially in construction site. You can see this all construction site, all these places above 6 feet size, they are covered with mesh. No person should be permitted to enter a confined space unless steps are taken to remove any fumes, toxic or irrespirable gases. Persons entering such spaces should wear breathing apparatus and be provided with a lifeline. So when people are working underground places in mines, so these things has to be provided. Wear breathing apparatus, lifeline, and if it generates fumes, so you have to be very careful. All these things has to be provided. Right, now we will come to another section, occupational health. වෘත්තීය සෞඛ්‍ය කොහොමද තියෙන්නේ කියලා. A close relationship exists between man's work and his health. So these the working condition of a man and about the health condition of a particular person. So between man's work and health, we have to be very careful. It is possible to recognize 4 important relationships. These are the 4 important relations when we think about occupational health. Work can give rise to diseases. Work can exacerbate existing diseases. So existing diseases can be improved according to the working conditions of a particular place. Illness may affect a worker's ability to work safely and efficiently. So illness may affect a worker's ability to work safely. That's you all must know. Then work promotes health. Those are the important factors to be concerned in occupational health. Many diseases arise from exposure of workers to various environmental hazards: physical, chemical, biological, and psychological. Some diseases are made worse by certain types of work. So in certain places, diseases can be improved or worse, come to a worse situation. For example, workers with chronic lung diseases, such as chronic bronchitis, experience worsening of their illness if exposed to very dusty environment. When people work in dusty environment, so they inhale this dusty air, and it will affect, for example, as mentioned here, with chronic lung diseases such as chronic bronchitis. Standing for long periods at work can aggravate existing varicose veins in legs. The knowledge of the nature of work to be undertaken by a prospective employee is thus of extreme importance for placing him, particularly if he has some disability, in a job best suited to him. So when we employ people in a factory or construction site or whatever the place, so when they have to stand for long periods, so we have to think about the health condition of the worker. So very careful, and the nature, what he or she is going to do in the site. So we have to be very careful in placing people, especially for working in a standing manner. People who suffer from certain illnesses are unsuitable for employment in certain types of work, as they may not be able to perform such jobs efficiently and safely. Such persons may not only expose to themselves to danger, but may in certain situations be danger to other people in the particular place. It is well known that persons suffering from red-green color blindness are unsuitable for employment as train drivers. Right, their spelling mistake, drivers. And good visual acuity is essential for driving and type of vehicle. Deaf persons are unsuited for jobs where communication is important, and also in workplace where it is necessary to recognize auditory alarm signals. A pre-employment medical examination will assist in the proper selection of persons and should be mandatory in work which is dangerous or unsafe. So factory management has to look after these factors. They have to conduct a medical examination before placing different kinds of people for various types of work in the factories. Most people gain a sense of satisfaction by working. It has been observed that when work is satisfying, there is an improvement in the worker's health. If a particular person is working happily in a working place, so his health condition is improved. Work that does not satisfy or unemployment will conversely lead to poor health. It has been found that the health of retired persons who have enjoyed good health throughout their working career, deteriorates rapidly if they are not usefully employed in some activities. Now it's very clear now. Say, for example, after working 25, 30 years in a organization, so when he retires, he is little bit unhappy. He has to be at home alone. So those are the conditions. So little by little, they are the health condition deteriorate, because when he is working in a factory or an organization, he is very happy because he can meet people in the factory, and so those are the important things when we consider about occupational health. Certain special problems in common with other developing countries occur in Sri Lanka. In tropical countries, heat is a problem experienced in many working situations, including working outdoors. Many workers suffer from discomfort and fatigue, and some experience heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke. So when we work outside the premises, so this heat problem occurs. Certain materials and processes which are found in Sri Lanka have not been adequately studied. Many vegetable dusts, such as rice husk, coconut husk, chili powder, and tea fluff, tekudu. The adverse effects about which little information is available need further study. So we have to be very careful, and we have to study about the adverse effects that can happen for these by these things, vegetable dust, rice husk, and other things. With changing technology, modern machines and processes are introduced, replacing all technology. So technology is improving day by day with new. So in agriculture, tractors and other machinery as well as fertilizers and pesticides are being used, exposing farmers to new hazards. So in these fertilizers and pesticides, farmers have to be very careful wearing protective equipment. So they exposed to these farmers are exposed to these new hazards. Stone masons now use electric grinders and polishers instead of the hammer and chisel, producing fine particles of silica, which are easily inhaled. Drivers are now able to use supportive gear and this diver, not drivers, spelling mistake. Divers are now able to use supportive gear and dive deeper, exposing themselves to greater risk. Rapid industrialization and agricultural development has brought about large-scale migrations of population causing social and dislocation, poor living conditions, and an increased incidence of communicable and social diseases. Undertrained workers are often employed in skilled jobs and experience more accidents. In order to achieve the aims of occupational health, many countries have encouraged the establishment of occupational health services for workers. There are occupational health services programs for workers. There's no legal provision. There's no legal provision under the Factories Ordinance in Sri Lanka to compel employers to provide occupational health services for workers. Enlightened employers, both in the public and private sector, provide well-staffed occupational health services. I think a lot of organizations, although they have not categorized under the Factories Ordinance, they provide all these occupational health services for their workers in the organization. So these are some important functions of an occupational health service are described. What are these conditions? Number one, placing people in suitable jobs. This activity includes pre-employment medical examination. So in organizations, certain places, they conduct pre-employment medical examination, medical tests, and post-sickness medical examinations to determine fitness to work. From time to time, they do this type of medical examination for placing these people in organizations. Providing treatment services. Early treatment of injuries, poisoning, and illness will prevent complications and assist rehabilitation. Controlling hazards in the work environment. Many hazards are already known, and adequate precautions should be taken to ensure the safety of workers from being exposed to undue risks. Avoiding potential risks involves participation of the occupational health staff in the planning and designing stage of a new plant to ensure freedom from risks and ensuring the installation. So this is very important thing we have to consider. So all the management staff and the subordinate staff has to be involved in planning and designing of how we are going to provide safety and health conditions to the workers. Supervision of vulnerable groups. These groups include the young who may need initial support during the acclimatization to a new environment. Educating workers and management and providing uh, counseling. The workplace provides excellent opportunities not only for education of workers in occupational health and safety practices, but also on general health topics. This counseling work is very important. So from time to time, educating workers and conduct counseling sessions is very important in a factory when we think of safety and occupational health. Supervision of sanitary and welfare facilities includes the supervision of sanitary and washing facilities to ascertain whether adequate numbers are provided and whether they are maintained in good condition. Later in the lecture, I will explain the sanitary and welfare facilities later. Prevention of environmental pollution outside the workplace. Whilst the environment within the workplace is the responsibility of the occupational health staff, they should also ensure that the environment outside. Then we will come to the principles of accident prevention. Definition of an accident. Any unplanned event that resulted in injury, ill health to people, or damage or loss to property, plant, materials, or the environment, or a loss of business opportunity. That is the definition of an accident. Any unplanned event that result in an injury, ill health to people, or damaged or loss to property, plant, material, or the environment, or a loss of business opportunity. Principles of accident prevention. Accident statistical studies. By conducting different statistics, this triangle shows when say 300 non-injury situations occurred, then minor accident will happen. 300 after having non-injury accidents, 300. It's a lot figure. 10 times the minor accidents. So non-injury accident 300 times, then minor accident. Then minor accident 29 times comes a major accident. So there's enough time. We have to consider about the safety of the machinery and equipment in a factory, conducting various statistical analysis. These are the figures 1 into 29 into 300. So principles of accident prevention. This I will explain later. Economic reasons, humanitarian reasons, and legal reasons. So accident prevention is very important for these three cases. Principles of accident prevention, humanitarian reasons. What are the reasons? Nobody who goes to work wants to have an accident. So that is the accident prevention principle. As individual managers, we do not want people to suffer ill health or injury on our sites. Those are the humanitarian reasons, number 2. Then number 3, economic reasons. Then cost to the individual, the company, and to the country. These are the economic factors when we consider accident prevention. Insurance costs. So when an accident happens, so insurance cost has to be covered. Damage to product and material, plant and building, tools and equipment. So it is an economic reason. Legal cost. So in certain cases, the legal action has to be taken for various accidents. So when we take legal actions, the legal cost has to be borne for lawyers and other people. Then production delays. So because of an accident, then production delays will occur. Then we have to face losses to the organization. Continued. Economic reasons. Continued. Overtime working. So in certain places, we have to work overtime to cover the production targets. Investigation time. So we have to conduct investigations, how the accident happens, who are the responsible persons, and what are the actions to be taken. All comes under investigation time. So those comes under economic reasons. Supervisor's time diverted. So supervisor's time has to be diverted for these type of things. Then clerical effect, all these reports has to be prepared, all sort of clerical work to be done. Loss of expertise, experience. Components of an accident. Pre-accident, the accident, and the results of the accident. So these are the components. The principles of accident prevention. So causes of accidents comes from unsafe work conditions, unsafe work conditions, unsafe acts of persons. So those are the two important factors for causes of accidents. So unsafe work condition in a factory or a construction site, as well as unsafe acts of persons. Those are the two important causes for accidents. Unsafe acts. Working without authority. That is very important in a factory. So there are certain people, they work as they own without proper authority of the management. So this is the first one. Failure to warn others of a danger. So that warning is very essential when we foresee some sort of danger in a factory, in a machinery. Leaving equipment in a dangerous condition. So leaving equipment in a dangerous condition, that's also very important. Misusing equipment, wrong speeds. So in a lot of machinery and equipment, the speeds, the working speed is indicated. So in certain cases, the operators, they use higher speeds or any other misusing uh, equipment. Disconnecting safety devices such as guards. As I mentioned in the beginning of the lecture, the three types, section 17 and 18 and 19, three conditions for guarding of machinery, prime movers, transmission machinery, and other dangerous parts. So those are the things. So disconnecting safety devices such as guards. Using non-defective equipment. Using equipment the wrong way or for wrong tasks. Failure to use or wear personal protective equipment. That is very clear. Bad loading of vehicles. Failure to lift loads correctly, mechanically and physically. Being in an unauthorized place. Unauthorized servicing and maintaining of moving equipment. Horseplay. That is very important in certain workplaces. The workers, they crack jokes and insult others or shouting, horseplay. That is horseplay. Smoking in areas where it is prohibited is also very important. Drinking alcohol or taking non-prescribed drugs. These three conditions are unsafe acts. Inadequate or missing guards to machines. Excessive heat or cold. Those are the unsafe conditions. We have to be very careful about these things. Defective tools. Fire hazards. Ineffective housekeeping. Stacking of material. Those are the things, housekeeping. Material handling at the factory. Hazardous atmosphere. Excessive noise levels. Exposure to radiation. Inadequate illumination or ventilation. That is also very important. Bad illumination, inadequate illumination or ventilation is an important factor in working places. What can we do to prevent accidents? So this is very important when we work in a factory. Principles of accident prevention. An essential first step, risk assessment. So that is the risk assessment has to be done. So one principle for accident prevention. Identify the hazards. So this risk assessment has to be done in advance. Identify the hazards. Identify those who may be affected. Identify the risks. Eliminate risks or substitute it. control the risks. Those are the factors to be considered in risk assessment. Then record and review. So this recording is very important. So it will go to statistics. So from time to time, we can analyze these records and review it. Accident prevention, then an essential second step, method statement. What do you mean by method statement? All operations requiring method statements must have them. All method statements must be approved. Method statements must be understood by the personnel undertaking the work. Method statements must be followed. All this, after analyzing the risks statement, then the method statement you have to prepare it, and state must be approved by the management and must be understood by the personnel. So that is very important. Understanding the method statements and then must be followed. That is very important. Random checks made to ensure compliance. So from time to time, these method statements has to be checked and then ensure compliances, how people will adhere to these statements. Safety inspections. What is the purpose of an inspection and who could do it? Purpose. Ensure compliance with the law. So every time we have to check with the law which covers the safety, that is the factories ordinance. So ensure the compliance with the law. Ensure all are working safely within a safe place of work. So from time to time, we have to do the safety inspection, whether they cover the safety regulations by the law and they work in safe working environment. Hazard spotting. Safety inspections. Who has to do it? Who could do it? Senior management has to do it. Contractors management, safety advisors. They are in certain organizations, they appoint safety advisors, and these advisors come from time to time and they inspect the situation and they report the conditions, whether conditions are satisfied or not satisfied. So safety advisors will do that one. Enforcing authorities, external consultants, insurers, plant inspectors, etc. From depend on the organization, all these people will work for safety inspection works. Safety inspections, who could do it? That is, you have to do it as senior management of the organization. Accident prevention through information, then instruction, training, and supervision. So this is the cycle. You can the principles of accident prevention. Information, then instruction, then training, then supervision. Accident reporting. That is also very important in an organization. Accident reporting. So in the factories ordinance under section 61, where it indicates where any accident occurs in a factory which either causes loss of life to a person employed, or disables any such person for more than 7 days from earning wages at the work at which he was employed. And written notice of the accident in such form and accompanied by such particulars should be sent to the district factory inspecting engineer. So I will explain it later. District under the Department of Labor, I told you, that factories division is established. Under the factories division, Chief Factory Inspecting Engineer. He is the head of the organization of the branch factories division. So under him, there are district factory inspecting engineers covering districts in the country. So written notice of the accident when causes loss of life to a person, death, then or disables any such person for more than 7 days. If the worker is not coming to work more than 7 days from earning wages at the work at which he was employed, then the written notice, written submission has to be done to the factories inspecting division engineers in districts. Form 10 has been introduced for this purpose. There's a form called Form 10. You can get the Form 10 through the web Department of Labor website, Factories Division website. You can get the Form 10. So you have to fill the Form 10 and submit it to the district factory inspecting engineer. So then after that, the engineer, district engineer or the factory inspecting engineer will come and inspect the situation. Accident reporting, prevention, investigation, trends, costs, research, enforcement, future legislation. Those are the things. So prevention, then we have to take action on prevention with this accident reporting, then investigation, then trends to trend what has happened, then cost of the accident, then research can be done from time to time, then enforcement of the law, then future legislation. There are certain suggestions can come for analyzing all these accident reporting method. Then the legislation can be changed from time to time by the Department of Labor. Then review of policies. After legislation work, then review of policies can be changed and procedures can be changed. Accident book. This is also very important when we think of accidents. Every accident involving personal injury to an employee must be entered in an accident book by either the employee or someone acting on behalf of the employee. This accident book, these things has to be entered. The accident book must be kept accessible, and when the engineers, factories division engineers, when they visit factories, they will ask for the accident book. So they will go through it and they will analyze it and inform the precautions has to be taken. Its location known to all employments. So all employees must know where the accident book is kept. Notification of occupational diseases. Every registered medical practitioner attending on a patient whom he believes to be suffering from a notifiable industrial diseases. Notifiable industrial diseases are categorized under regulations issued by the Department of Labor. Industrial diseases should give written notice to the chief factory inspecting engineer. Regarding the diseases, they have to inform attending whom he believes to be suffering from notifiable industrial disease should be give written notice to the engineer, chief engineer. Inquest into deaths, inquirers of sudden deaths, holding inquiries into sudden deaths resulting from factory accidents or notifiable industrial diseases should ensure that a factory inspecting engineer is present at the inquiry to watch the proceedings. When death occurs to a person in the factory, then inquiries of sudden deaths. The factory inspecting engineer should be present at the inquiry stage to watch the proceedings. Notification of accidents. When any accident occurs in a factory which causes loss of life to person employment, disable any such person for more than 3 days from earning full wages, makes any such person unconscious due to heat, exhaustion, electric or inhalation of irrespirable gases or fumes. Written notice of the accident should be sent forthwith to the district factory inspecting engineer. Those are the important things. Occupational diseases also same thing. Every registered medical practitioner attending on a patient whom he believes to be suffering from a notifiable industrial disease should be give written notice to the chief factory inspecting engineers. So that covers the accident part. Now we will go to another important section, waste management. Waste management is very important in organizations. Today, Sri Lanka is facing the same problem of rapid industrialization and urbanization, both of which, if not adequately controlled, would lead to a pollution problem that you all know. The situation is further aggravated by the fact that Sri Lanka lacks the necessary financial resources for prevention of pollutions. Now, you know, due to current situation, economic situation, this providing funds, financial resources is very difficult to, especially the government organizations. So in Sri Lanka, most industries, both small and large, discharge their wastes to the general environment with little regard to the community at large. Industrial waste includes raw materials, discarded factory products, intermediate products, packaging material, sludge from treatment plants. You'll know these things. Waste from factory canteens, etc. And may exist in the form of gas, liquid, or solid. We will now look at the various methods available for purification treatment of air, water, and solid in an industry. The first step in the management of industrial waste is to minimize the generation of it. That we have to be very careful about the generation of industrial waste. Processes could be altered or modernized to achieve this. Next step would be to substitute toxic raw materials. Recovery of materials from wastes for reuse is another approach to be considered. One man's waste may be another's raw material. Therefore, inter-industry coordination is desirable. So, one waste from one place can be used as a raw material for another industry, another place. So, inter-industry coordination is very important in this matter. Dry fabric dust collectors. These probably form the largest single group of air cleaning devices in this field and are known variously as dust collector, bag filters, bag houses, etc. Basically, they all employ a fabric filter. Fabric is provided as a filter to arrest dust or fume. They are able to cope with heavy dust burdens and a wide range of particle sizes at a high efficiency. A correctly rated fabric can achieve an overall efficiency of 99.8. The fabric dust collector must be self-cleaning, that is able to shed the dust burden collected by either manual or automatic activation of a cleaning mechanism and then continue in operation. So fabric is very important. Fabric dust collector. Fabrics are used in different forms. In most designs, the fabric filter is arranged as tubs, bags, or envelopes mounted on supporting frames so as to form a permeable division between the clean and dirty sides. The dust-laden air enters from below, passes upward through the fabric filter, and the clean air leaves via the discharge dust at the top. The dust which could be shaken off collects at the bottom. The common cleaning system is an intermittently functioning mechanical device which vigorously shakes the top of the filter bags, and different fabrics such as cotton, wool, nylon, and ethylene are used depending on the properties of the fume. Now, regarding this one, actually, you have to go through Google and find out the mechanism. So in this lecture, I can't explain all these things. So I have given the summary. So it is clearly described in the web. You can see. Wet collector. The basic principle of the wet collector is to bring the contaminant into an intimate contact with water so that it is more rapidly extracted from the airstream and is absorbed directly into a water mass. Wet collectors are able to deal with both particulate and gaseous contaminants and with hot or corrosive air streams. The two common wet collectors in use are the Venturi scrubber and the self-induced spray and wet collector. Similarly, the wet collector, if you go through the Google, you can see the diagrams explaining very clearly. This is a basic idea about the wet collectors. In the water, every workplace discharge a certain volume of effluent water අපද්‍රව්‍ය තියෙන වතුර out of the premises. Some industries may discharge relatively harmless effluent, whereas in some cases it may contain highly toxic chemicals. මේ වතුර ගංගාවලට හරවනවා කාන්වල දිගේ ගිහිල්ලා අන්න ඒව තමයි නවත්තන්න ඕනේ. These are the important things. There are a large number of physical and chemical methods available for treatment of effluent water. Sedimentation. The principle of density difference is used here for gravity settling. It's a very common method, sedimentation. This method is cheap and commonly used in Sri Lanka. The effluent water is collected in settling tanks and the solute particles settle at the bottom, leaving the clear liquid at the top. So by way of the sedimentation, the water can be cleaned. The sludge which builds up at the base of the base has to be removed regularly and further treated if necessary before disposal. Flotation. In the process of substances which floats to the top of the settling tank are removed using a skimming apparatus. An example is grease in water. For particles which do not readily float, the dissolved air flotation method may be used. In this method, the tank containing wastewater is pressurized. After sufficient time is allowed for air to dissolve. The pressure is released and the air now comes out of solution. Filtration. This is a process in which separation of the pollutant is accomplished by the size difference of the particles. The effluent water is forced through a porous medium with resultant retention of particles in the medium. Three types of media that could be used are beds, sand and asbestos, mesh, screen and fabric, then perforated surfaces, certain membranes. Then we will come to the other one, solids. Solid waste in industry may consist of unused raw materials, damaged final products, byproducts, packaging materials, leftover food, etc. Minimizing the generation of such waste should be the first line of action. Incineration, Pulusaladhanaka, an ancient disposal of technique for getting rid of waste is to burn it. Incineration, while solving one problem, creates another. There are air pollution due to smoke and unburned remains, which have to be disposed of by another means. දවාලන එක තියෙන ප්‍රශ්න තමයි. Landfill. This is also a very common ancient means of disposing of solid waste. The solid waste is spread layers and then compacted with the bulldozer before another layer is spread. After the waste is about 3 meters deep, it is covered by a layer of and compacted again. Landfill method. So we will come to another section, fire. Fire is the result of a combination in suitable proportions of a fuel, oxygen, and an initial source of heat. The combination is a chemical reaction in which a heated substance combines with oxygen to produce heat, that you all know. Light, smoke, and toxic gases. The reaction involves both heat consumption and heat production, with a net production of heat. Products of combustions. The application of heat to solids and liquids produces vapors at their surfaces, which ultimately mix with air to cause a fire. During combustion, in addition to the heat, new molecules are also formed. These are called products of combustion. Complete combustion can occur in a very hot, well-ventilated fire. In this situation, carbon dioxide and steam are formed from the oxidation of carbon and hydrogen respectively, that you all know. Oxides of various other elements such as sulfur and nitrogen are also formed. Toxic substances can also be produced in some fires. Hydrogen cyanide can be formed from burning of wool and silk, acetic acid from timber and paper, and carbon monoxide from incomplete combustion of carbonaceous material. Products of combustions. The application of heat to solids and liquids produces vapors at their surfaces, which ultimately mix with air to cause a fire. During combustion, in addition to the heat, new molecules are also formed. These are called the products of combustion. Complete combustion can occur in a very hot, well-ventilated fire. In this situation, carbon dioxide and steam are formed from the oxidation of carbon and hydrogen respectively. Oxides of vapors, various other elements as sulfur and nitrogen also form. Toxic substances can also be produced in some fires, hydrogen cyanide. I think this is repeated. Okay. Ignition sources. Heat is one of the three factors necessary for combustion. It is readily available in industry from various ignition sources, such as electrical apparatus and wiring, sources of static electricity, machinery, grinding, welding and cutting processes, heating and cooking process, matches and lighted cigarettes. Those are the ignition sources that you all know. Control measures. This is very important. Fire protection has to be planned at the design stage of buildings, taking into consideration the risks involved in the manufacturing process. High risk areas should be protected with fire-resistant walls. Fire-resistant walls are fixed in factories and other places for fire protection, so as to prevent the rapid spread of fires. Fire-resistant doors should also be provided for these areas to isolate them in case of major fires, where appropriate. Inbuilt systems for detecting, controlling, and extinguishing fires could be provided. Sorry. Fixed automatic devices are available to extinguish fire. Fire extinguishers are fixed. These operate automatically in case of fire and sprinkle water or other extinguishing agents. Safe escape routes should be provided, and these should be maintained free of obstruction. Doors should open outwards to enable easy exit in case of fire. This is very important. Fire escape routes should be provided, and at the same time, these routes should not be covered with keeping equipment, various items. So it should be very clear so that people easily can go through the safe way, and doors should be open outwards to enable easy to exit. When they come closer to the door, they have to push it and open outside. Then they can get out of the place. There should be good access routes around the building to assist the fire brigade and hydrants and other facilities for firefighting should be provided. So surrounding the factory, the path should be very cleared so that the fire brigade and other hydrants can come easily to access the place. It is desirable to install fire alarm systems in factories. I think most factories and other places, these fire alarms are established, fixed, and all workers should be trained in evacuation procedures by conducting fire drills regularly. This is very important. Fire drills have to be conducted regularly, say once in 3 months or once in 6 months, so that people know what to do. Preventive measures should be considered after thorough study of the process materials and likely ignition sources. This involves the identification of specific hazard areas, selection and provision of appropriated first-hand firefighting equipment, and the training of workers employed in these areas to use the equipment correctly. It is also important to establish good housekeeping practices, such as proper disposal of waste. As I mentioned earlier, the waste management, disposal of waste is very important. Regular cleaning of machinery, floors and walls, and the proper storage of material handling in work sites. Regular inspections to ensure that safety procedures are adhered. Then we will come to another section about electricity, safety in electricity. Electricity is inherently dangerous, and like unguarded machinery, fire, steam, etc., has to be treated with respect. Causes of electrical accidents. Causes of electrical accidents may broadly be classified under three headings: defective design or construction of apparatus, failure of apparatus due to inefficient maintenance, misuse or maloperation of sound apparatus due to failure of personnel or management or misapplications. So these are the three important factors, causes of electrical accident. An analysis of the causes of electrical accidents gave following figures: defects in design or material. So various research have been done, and these figures have come out of those research. Defects in design of material, 16% of electrical accident. Sound apparatus ill-maintained, about 9%. This will vary from time to time. So unknown causes, 5%. Taking necessary risks or failing to utilize the means provide for safety. So lack of taking safety measures, 70% of the electrical accidents. Those are the statistics figures. It will vary from time to time. Personal failure, accidental slipping of a screwdriver can create a flash. This is very important. So we have to be very careful when we are dealing with tools for various activities. Management too can contribute to these errors by wrong selection or application of apparatus. Failure to provide safe conditions for maintenance, poor selection of staff, overloading the system, lack of supervision, lack of proper training, equipment. Sorry. Hazards of electricity. The dangers to be considered in the use of electricity are two types. One, personal injury, and two, damage to property. Personal injury. Personal injuries may be caused by electric shock, that you all know, electric burn, and arc eye. So what is electric shock? Falls from roofs, cuts, dropping of tools, injury from damage to nerve issues, death from fibrillation of the heart, death due to asphyxiation, physical, those are medical terms, physical injury from violent muscular contraction. Electric burns. Generally speaking, an electrical burn penetrates deeply and may take long time healing through the appearance or superficial damage may be slight. Direct current burns tend to be more acute than alternating current burns due to the fact that the DC arc is more persistent than the AC arc, which latter tends to extinguish more easily at the moment when current passes through 0 volts. Burns are invariably associated with physical shock, and great care is necessary in their treatment. Arc eye. This is caused by ultraviolet rays from an electric arc, for instance, in arc welding, reaching unprotected eyes. The condition is very painful, causing temporary loss of sight. The victim feels as if there are sand particles in his eye. The only way in which the arc eye can be prevented is to wear eye protection of the correct type and to do welding in screen off areas. This is very important. We can see a lot of people, they do welding without using protective equipment. So they neglect these things, wearing protective equipment, that we have to be very careful. This arc eye, to prevent arc eye. Electrical safety. So far, we have been considering the dangers associated with the use of electricity. There are few principles which, if followed, will make electricity a good servant and not a bad master. The principles used in making electrical conductors safe are to guard them electrically and mechanically, to make them inaccessible, to install, operate, and maintain them in proper manner, to make them dead, to energize them at low voltage. Now, we will see what are these things. To guard them electrically and mechanically, electrical guarding is achieved by covering the conductor with an insulator that you know, such as rubber, plastic, oil, impregnated paper, linen, glass or porcelain, etc. Mechanical guarding of the insulated conductor is done in various ways and can be in the form of soft metal tubes or extruded over the insulated conductor, or fixed tubes through which the insulated wires were drawn. Wires are drawn through a tube, or in the form of steel armored wires or tapes. To make them inaccessible, bare conductors may be fixed on an porcelain or other insulators, which is in turn can be supported above. To install, operate, and maintain in proper manner, the circuits and apparatus must be designed, erected, and maintained by qualified and competent persons in conformity with the best current practices, and that the operators are trained in their work. To make them dead, this is done by using circuit breakers or isolating switches. Conductors may also be made dead automatically on the occasion of a fault by means of fuses or circuit breakers. To energize at low voltage. If the voltage is reduced, then the current also gets reduced. In the case of portable electric equipment work in confined places, it is better to use low voltage. Okay, now we will come to another section, safety in construction industry. Construction sites can be divided into two categories. Number one, buildings, houses, hotel, schools, factories, and civil engineering sites, roads, dams, bridges, power stations, etc. It is observed that occur more accidents in construction site when compared to factories due to following reasons. What are the reasons? Frequent change of work sites. So you can see civil construction sites. They management change sites from time to time. Frequent change of work sites. Lack of disciplinary control. Lack of planning. Subcontracting of work. That is very important factor. So you can see in civil construction sites, a lot of subcontractors will come and work. So they do not give much attention to safety rules. They ignore safety rules. Lack of allocating funds for safety equipment. It's another important factor. Engage unskilled workers for low wages. That is very common in a lot of working sites in Sri Lanka. So engage unskilled workers at low wages for low wages. Lack of proper coordination among different categories of work groups. Because, for example, barbenders, masons, carpenters, electricians, etc. The different kinds of people, working categories are working in construction site to face different, sorry, to face different weather conditions, rain and sunshine. Safety procedures implementation. To prepare a comprehensive work plan at the beginning of work with help of architects, design engineers, site engineers, technical officers, and site officers. They all must get together and prepare a proper work plan, comprehensive work plan, discussing the safety procedures to be implemented in sites. Safety precautions to prevent collapsing of walls during excavation of soil, to provide sufficient air in deep excavation. Safety precautions should be introduced in scaffolding work in high-rise buildings. This is very important. When we install install scaffoldings, it should be carefully done. To maintain hoists, chains, ropes, and other lifting equipment regularly. As I mentioned earlier in the safety, so hoist, chains, ropes, and lifting equipment should be periodically checked and certified by competent person. Inspection of such items should be done periodically. Attention should be given for safety precautions in roof construction. Proper methods should be adopted in material handling and storage of materials such as steel, pipes, cement, sanitary equipment, etc. Laying electric cables, especially in temporary sheds in work sites, should be carefully done. This happens in many working places in sites. So laying of electric cables to take power from one place to another. So it's not carefully done. Handling of explosive materials in road construction site, underground tunnel and construction site. Special attention should be given to fire safety. Then we will come to another section, health and welfare. Cleanliness. Every factory should be kept clean and free from effluvia. Workspace. Every person working in a factory should be allowed at least 400 cubic feet of free space in calculating the free space. No space above 14 feet from the floor should be taken into account. So for a safe workplace, it should be minimum at least 400 cubic feet per person for working in a factory or a other place. So when we calculate the volume, so 14 feet, above 14 feet, we have to take the height less than 14 feet by calculating. Then sanitary conveniences. Sanitary conveniences should be provided and maintained in all factories as follows. For up to 100%, according to the factories ordinance regulations, 100%, one for every 25. So for 100%, 4 sanitary conveniences. Then from 100 to 500%, one for every 40. So if it is first 100, if one for every 25, then above 100 up to 500%, one for every 40%. And over 500%, one for every 60%. That is according to the regulations from the factories division, gazetted regulations. Separate facilities should be provided for males and females. Wholesome drinking water should be provided to workers, except when water is delivered from an upward jet. Cups or drinking vessels should be provided at each point of supply along with facilities for rinsing them. Adequate and suitable accommodation should be provided for clothing not worn during working hours. So changing of clothes, separate room has to be provided separately for both men and women. Female workers should be provided with facilities for resting. For female workers, for resting to enable them to rest during the course of their employment. First aid. Every factory should have a first aid box or cupboard. Contents as specified in the regulation. In fact, I have not put it in as an annexure. You can go through using the website of the Department of Labor site. All these regulations are appeared. Train first aiders on every work shift. So there is a responsibility of the management. They have to train people, workers, to provide first aids every work shift. It is important to ensure that a sufficient number of workers are trained in first aid. So these two things are very important factors. Meal rooms. Meal rooms which could accommodate at least 30% of the one-third of the total workforce at any time. So 30% of the total workforce at any time should be provided for to take meals. When in any room, lead, arsenic, or other poisonous substance is used, no person should be permitted to partake of food or drink or to remain in such room during intervals. That is also very important. Allowed for meals or rest. General, those are the general conditions. I have mentioned most of these things. When any accident occurs in a factory which causes loss of life to person employed, disables any such person for more than 3 days from earning full wages, makes any such person unconscious due to heat exposure, electric shock, or inhalation or irrespirable gases of fumes, written notice to the accident should be sent to the factory inspecting engineer. I have mentioned earlier. Notification of occupational diseases, again, I have mentioned. Every registered medical practitioner attending on a patient from he believes to be suffering from notifiable industrial disease should give written notice to chief factory inspecting engineer. Inquest into deaths, that also I mentioned earlier. Inquires sudden deaths, only inquires deaths resulting from factory inspection. Industrial diseases should ensure that a factory inspecting engineer is present. Issue of licenses by local authorities. No local, this is very important. So when we establish a factory, we have to get the permission from the local authorities. So in this case, no local authority should issue a license to a factory unless it is registered under the factory's ordinance. This is very important. There shall be kept in factory or in such place outside the factory as may be approved by the factory inspecting engineer. A register called the general register. The following details have to be entered. General register we have to keep in the factory. All reports and particulars required by the provisions of the factory's ordinance to be entered in or attached. Details of accidents and industrial diseases occurring in the factory, of which notice is required to be sent to the labor department. Young persons employed in the factory, such particulars as may be prescribed as to the washing, whitewashing or color washing, painting. So general register is a common book kept at factories. So factory inspecting engineers from time to time, they will come and inspect these things, whether the owners, they record all these details. Factories division of the Department of Labor. Enforcement of the factories ordinance to ensure safety, health and welfare of workers through following activities. I have mentioned all these things: enforcement, implementation, inspection of factories, approval of building plans, attend coroner's court if there's a death, to give expert evidence, investigation of accidents, complaints, legal actions, conduct safety awareness program, analysis of accident, appointment of authorized officer, issue of certificates under the ordinance, making safety posters. The other important activities: advisory services for improvement of work environment in factories, participation in national committees with regard to occupational safety, safety auditing of factories, preparation of curriculum on safety, health and welfare for educational institutions such as Construction Industry Development Authority, NITA, National Apprentice and Industrial Training Authority, National Institute of Business Management, National Institute of Plantation, these are some examples. So when they prepare curriculum, especially these organizations, they create a module for safety and health and welfare. So prepare the curriculum, they get services from the engineers of the factories division. These are the existing legislations I mentioned earlier, Factories Ordinance. Then the amendments, these are the amendments, Factories Ordinance number 22, 5461, 12, 1973, 18, 1990. All these things are given in the Department of Labor Factories Division website. If you want, you can go through and get details. In addition to the above, following regulations are also ineffective. So under the Factories Ordinance, from time to time, they gazette regulations. So from 1960, number 1, then Factory Central Conveniences, regulation, dangerous occurrences, washing facilities, general standards of lighting. All that is given in this regulation. You can go through it and get more details. Meal rooms regulation, steam boiler attendance certificate, notifiable diseases, protection of ice, first aid regulations, and leaflet on first aid. That is the end of the lecture. You can ask any questions through email. My email address is ayodhya42@gmail.com. Mobile number is 0777 At any time you can send an email. At any time you can give a ring so that I will answer in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.